We are going to be drawing these lovely little chairs, not because it is considered artistic, but mainly because it's like an exercise. It's going to be exercise in learning how to use grid to establish a relationship between the image on the paper, to create the same image on our own paper and our own grid. So grid is all about relationships. So we've learned last time that we want to create a relationship of one line to the other, how things can angle and almost look like letters, like that looks like almost like it would be a letter R. So if you can help see it as a shape, or this might be a letter L. So if you can see it as a letter, it'll just help us see the angle a little bit better. So not just a perfect L, but the way that this angle's open. This is an exercise in learning to observe. The grid is going to help you with the relationships and placement on your paper. Just like when you're in math class and you have to go up X and over Y, hopefully I have that right, to pinpoint an exact point in math on a grid. Same thing here. You could see this as a grid, and any spot in it correlates to the same grid that is drawn on my paper. So if the corner of the chair here is on the grid, the corner should be over here on my paper. Okay? So grid is kind of like math in a way. It just helps with location. It's also going to help with this unusual tip that we have between the chair. Like, this chair is not facing you. Resist the urge to have it facing you. You're going to try to twist it to make it the most convenient angle to draw it from. It's just something we've kind of learned to do. So make sure you don't fall for that. Use the grid. Make sure that you observe the angles as it comes across your paper. Okay? Even here I just have an angle line to try to fill in. Break down the grid more than what the grid is. The first grid you're going to want to just trace on your paper. So this is the line that's all in pink over here. That is the grid that's actually the size of your drawing, and that's actually what you're going to want to work into. But don't just go with this big grid. You're going to really need to break it down. I would suggest breaking it down further than this grid is. And I would say draw a plus sign. So once you get your grid, draw a plus sign in it. A plus sign kind of divides it into 4 equal parts. And then when you get that done, take each little section of the plus sign, that's a plus sign, and put a plus sign in the middle of it, wherever there seems to be more detail, so that you have smaller boxes to work with. It's like, instead of picking up a whole box of information, we're putting all that information into smaller boxes, which makes it easier for us to kind of pick up and carry, or understand, more importantly. So, for example, when I'm working, I'm going to turn it upside down to kind of confuse my little brain and to just seeing it as lines and shapes and nothing more, because that's all art is. Now let me get a pencil. So now I realize this is where I am, and I'm going to continue forth with the next one. Okay, so I have a little cutout here. Looks like that's where it went in there. This little bow tie kind of comes up through and up into this space. So it should be much easier lifting if you're not trying to create it all at once. Okay, I can even look at this negative space that's here. And now I can look at this little negative space that's in the same tiny little box. As it touches the edge, it goes like that. This goes out of the edge, it comes like this. Okay, so a lot of easier lifting if you visually break it down into smaller boxes, both here and on your paper. Think about it as lifting up heavy boxes of things. If it's in smaller boxes, it's easier to lift. Okay, so this is your upside down chair drawing. All right, now in some of these areas I've actually darkened them with pink so that I can see the background shape as it's in this little box, so that it's easier to draw that same background shape that's over here. Okay, so you can do the same thing as well when you draw upside down. I'm going to cover up my drawing. It's also going to help me with placement this way, or if I put it to the side, this way. It can help me with placement, whatever you need help with. And just go a little nibble at a time. If I come down here, I'm going to pay attention to this background space. I know it connects here. Look to see how far into the paper you go, and realize it's going to connect with this. I'm actually going to go the opposite way and kind of connect in. I know that my chair is a double line, so now I go to the outside of the chair and I follow what that line does and try to connect in. All right, so that is your upside down gridded negative chair assignment.